Brother. Oh, I annoyed a lot of people yesterday. Hey guys, are you cutting your battle mats ready for the new minimum size?
Oh, hell no. Just take them up or something. Cutting them is ridiculous.
It's minimum. It's minimum, meaning anything above that size is fine. You're dumb if you cut your mats. The new battlefield sizes are minimum. You could play a 500-point map on a 48x90 if you wanted to. Cutting your mat is a stupid idea. It's a minimum size, not a mandatory size. Just play on a normal 6x4 rolling eyes emoji. Why the F would someone cut a mat to a minimum size? I bet this will feature on Spiky Bit. Better not. I'm watching you, Rob Bear. You featured this on Spiky Bits. I'll cut you with some scissors, I guess. I didn't realise masking tape was no longer available. Thanks, Lee. I didn't realise that I could go to the shop and buy it. Shut up. No, the word is minimum. Did people forget what minimum means? Did you forget I read everything at face value? Imagine destroying your stuff without even knowing the rules. The whole of the new rules aren't even out yet. Cutting your mats now is just stupid. Why I'm cutting my play mats? Why is it 30 minutes when it can be wrapped up in one sentence? I don't understand what minimum means. It's actually 23 minutes and like 21 seconds, but I get your point. And obviously, at the same time that I posted my video in competitive 40k, they released Steven boxes of, watch this before cutting your mat. No, you can't just cut a mat. I spent loads of money on this and you can't ruin that. Scissors go snip snip. Just want to make it clear that, like, don't go and, like, actually think these people are angry, because they're not. They're just reacting. It's fine. I apologize if you were included in this video and you were offended, but it's just for a meme. I apologize. I don't actually hate you. I think you're a great guy. I love you. Please love me back. If I had a pound, just one single pound, for every time someone said, hey, oh, it's minimum. If I had a pound for every time someone told me that it's the minimum size, I could literally quit my day job and do YouTube full time. And if you want to help me do that, then obviously you can support us on Hellstormwargaming.co.uk. Click the join button down here, and you'll get access to exclusive content along with patreon.com/Hellstormwargaming. Links in the description. Support the chan. But yeah, so I dropped the video yesterday. This is like a follow-up to Coffee Time. So Coffee Time, I had a discussion about why you probably want to cut your mat down and why you'd want to make a smaller board in general for competitive play, mostly. For casual play, it doesn't really matter. But for competitive play, I think most people are likely going to be cutting mats down, or at least buying new mats at this new size. And a lot of people didn't like that. They called me stupid. They said I was overreacting to cutting mats. And as you can see, I've already cut a mat. But today I'm going to be showing you a couple of ways where you can adapt your mat that you have already to the new size. They're going to start with less temporary to more permanent. So, spoiler alert, this is the final tip, but there's lots of ways you can do it. They don't all have to be cutting mats. Again, a lot of people have made some good suggestions, so this is kind of like the top ways that I found are the best ways to kind of make your mat ready for the new size. I'm going to try and keep this video short and sweet, so let's jump straight in. So step one actually comes in two parts. You can literally do nothing. That is the best way you can play 9th edition on the new board size. Obviously, the size is a minimum, so you don't have to play on this size, but you've never had to play on 6x4. If you wanted to, you could have played on 7x4, but you didn't. You played on 6x4. But if you want to carry on playing with your battle mat or playing with your custom board at 6x4, you totally can. But there's actually two ways you can do this. You can either literally do nothing and play on a 6x4, totally fine, totally works. But also what you can do is you can consider the new board size when laying out your board and measuring from the edge. For example, with these rates, I can outflank them 6 inches on from the edge of the board, but realistically the board size is 6 inches further in from that edge, so I can measure them 12 inches but count it as 6, if that makes sense. So essentially you've got an imaginary border where you don't actually deploy. So from the short edges you're always going to add 6 inches, but from the long edge you're only going to add 2 inches on each side. Essentially you're not doing anything to your battle mat, you're not doing anything to your game board, but you are playing the new size. You've just got to remember that. It's like a house rule for your battle mat or for anyone's battle mat wherever you are. If you just keep that in mind whilst you're playing, then you'll slowly get used to doing it. You'll add those sizes up automatically, but then when you play on a smaller board, it's kind of like you've got to like turn that off again and try and remember. But there's like one tip in like 2 ways that you can literally do nothing but also carry on playing 40k or play 40k as it's intended on this smaller board. The next tip, which is a lot of what people saying, use painter's tape. So painter's tape is it's like masking tape but a little bit better. This red one I ran out, but this is Wilkinson's or Wilco's in the UK. But painter's tape is used for when you want to mark out or mask off stuff when you're actually painting walls for like decorating. So you can use painting tape on a painter's tape or masking tape to mark out the board. So painter's tape is renowned for not leaving residue, because you obviously you want to use it on a wall that's painted or unpainted, and you don't want to leave residue because you want to paint that eventually. You can actually use this for masking models at the same time, so it like doubles up. It's like double function. You buy it, you can mark out your mat with it, you can mark out 6 inches off the edge, 2 inches off the bottom, make your new board as I've done on this video, and it won't leave any residue. Masking tape might do after a while, so I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend painter's tape because it is a little bit different to masking tape, but if you're not that bothered, then just use masking tape. Use sellotape, use duct tape if you want to. Duct tape will last the longest. It will definitely ruin your mat underneath it, but if you're not bothered, then do that. The next tip, there's a video that's already been made by Stephen Box, which is very similar to this one. Me and him had a bit of a laugh because we both posted in competitive 40k, and I was like, cut your mat, and he was like, don't cut your mat, and the war began, the ultimate war of 2020. But you can lay something over the top of the mat as another way to mark it out. So I have this random piece of material that you can lay out, and you can lay this on top of your board, and this will like kind of mark it out. So essentially what I've got is I've got a strip of neoprene and it essentially marks out that board for me, so I can see where the board is supposed to be, and I've got like a little bit of extra space to put stuff around, which is what a lot of people are kind of thinking of doing. It's kind of like I've got a little bit of dead pile area, or place to put my dice, or place to put my phone or my codex around the edge of the board. And you kind of like it just helps with just keeping stuff in place, and having something that like this, it's a lot neater, and you don't have to damage anything if you use another material. Again, Stephen Box made a great video. He did it with felt. That kind of works. I think you probably want to tape it down. He laid it under the mat, but then you're going to get the mat raising up and then it's going to fall out. But me personally, I'd tape it down or mark it down with something. I'm probably going to use painter's tape to actually tape it down on all sides, because it is a little bit curly right now. So I'm going to use painter's tape to like hold it down when I want to use this. And this is probably my short-term fix whilst we kind of definitely see the game settle into this new size, because initially I think there will be a lot of backlash and people will play on 6x4, but eventually as new mats start coming out, as it becomes a new norm at tournaments, then people will start playing on this new size. But this is like my quick temporary fix, especially when I want to start filming 9th edition. I don't fancy cutting all my mats down straight away. So my next tip is a little bit more permanent than the previous ones. Use a Sharpie. You can literally draw out the shape that you need. And this is going to double up onto the next tip as well. But what I've done is I've gone around and measured the mat, and I've marked out the square of the new board. One thing I should note, that when you're doing this, make sure you measure from the new edges that you're drawing in, or from one edge, if that makes sense. Because what I found was the mat I'm actually working with right now, this one with the Sharpie on, is that the mat itself is actually a little bit small. So when I first measured it out, it was actually ½ an inch too small. So you can see there might be a little bit of a dotted Sharpie line that's going to be ignored now. But make sure you measure out from one edge of the mat, your full 44, and then from the other edge, 66, for example, and then take 6 inches off. What you're going to find is if a mat isn't exactly 6x4, you're going to cut it from each edge, and then your new mat is then off. Like, for example, mine was ½ an inch too short, so I had to remeasure it. So with engineering, work from one edge. You have an origin, measure twice, cut once. Another thing to note as well is that I'm measuring from 10 inches on my tape measure rather than using the end of the tape measure, because you have the clip which is used for hooking onto things, but that can move while you're measuring. So what I'm using actually the 10 inches and then adding that to it. So I'm essentially using from 10 to 14 and then from 10 to 16 for each measurement, just so I know it's perfect around each edge. So that's a little bit of an engineering tip. The next tip is a little bit more permanent than the previous few, and it is literally cut your mat. Now, I don't say this lightly. If you only own one mat and you're worried about damaging it, don't do this. This is basically a test for me to see how easy it was. I'm not going to cut them all straight away because I want the game to settle first. But with a Sharpie, you can mark out your new board and then cut your mat to the new size. I've kind of gone over the benefits of this, the fact that it's lighter, it's easy to move, it takes up less space, and I can always bring a new board topper. I've already ordered a board topper to replace this 6x4 board. And what I can do is when that comes, because it's one sheet of material, I can lay that on top of a board and just cut round it as a template. If you do this correctly, you'll have a nice board. You can kind of, if you really want to, you can kind of shift the design a little bit. You can kind of cut a weird shape out. Or you can cut, depending on what design you've got. I've done it as a U shape, so I could make the previous tip of laying material out. That's what that is. It's an upside down offcut of one of the battle mats. So you can kind of cut one battle mat and lay it over other one. Use the offcut to lay over other ones to make it the new size. But you can cut it in multiple ways. You could take 1 foot off one side and then 4 inches off another. Then you're left with a 4x1 mat that you could use for either an actual mouse mat, or another idea I had was if you've got shelving, you could put some nice battle mat on the shelving, so you've got a nice place to put your models. And there's kind of like, you just get having this spare material, which I'm sure you will find a use for. You could even use it for a doormat, for example, or you could use it to stop something bumping into something in the garage, you know. Everyone's dad or everyone's grandparents have got like some old carpet behind a door where it doesn't smack into the door and damage the handles. So you could use a battle mat to do the same thing. But what I'm saying is this is the most permanent and long term. This is probably what I'm going to do. You don't have to. You can play on 6x4. You can put tape down. You can use a Sharpie. But also, if you cut one mat, it's one mat that does the rest, you know. That's my plan initially. I've cut one mat down so it's the right size, and then until I'm ready to start cutting, until I know the game's going to stay this new size, I have an overlay to lay onto the older mat. So it kind of doubles up as one. So that's my thoughts. That's what I'm thinking. There's some tips from me about how you can get your board ready for 9th edition. But if you've got any other tips, if you've got any other ideas, then do post them in the comments down below, because it'd be really good to make this, rather than just people hating on me for cutting a battle mat, really good to like get some ideas flowing and have this as like a forum of this is the ways I've done it and these are really good. And you can kind of take the one you like and do it yourself, and then we're on to a winner. Otherwise, guys, I do hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, it's a quick tip, follow-up from yesterday. Hopefully you don't hate me too much. A lot of people do already. Otherwise, guys, please subscribe if you can. We're trying to hit 20k. We're well on its way. We're about to hit 15k. I have an announcement at 15k. I don't know if I'll be at 15k by the time this video comes out, but we might be. And there's a fun little announcement for that as well. So thank you very much for watching. Support the channel if you can. If not, just watch and like the video. If you dislike this video, then do dislike it, but say why in the comments so I can learn. Otherwise, have a great day, and we'll catch you next time.